A Tesla Model 3 with 300,000 miles on it went to the mechanic last year. The technician checked the brakes, expecting a full pad and rotor replacement. The original pads were still on it, barely worn. This should be physically impossible. A gasoline car eats through brake pads every 40,000 miles. So what's actually stopping this Tesla? The answer is one of the most elegant tricks in modern engineering. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a brake pedal the same way again. Let me show you. Here's the thing nobody tells you about electric motors. They're reversible. Feed electricity in, you get motion out. That's how your EV accelerates. But spin the motor from the outside, and the process runs backwards. Motion goes in, electricity comes out. The motor becomes a generator. Now here's where it gets clever. When you lift your foot off the accelerator in an EV, the software doesn't just cut power. It flips the motor into generator mode. The wheels are still spinning, so they force the motor to spin. That spinning creates electricity. And creating electricity requires energy. Energy that has to come from somewhere. It comes from the car's kinetic energy. From its momentum, the car slows down because its motion is being converted into electricity and shoved back into the battery. You're braking without touching the brakes. This is called regenerative braking. And it's why that Tesla still had its original pads at 300,000 miles. Now let's talk about what this actually feels like. In most modern EVs, you can enable something called one-pedal driving. Lift your foot off the accelerator and the car decelerates hard. Hard enough to bring you to a complete stop at a traffic light without ever pressing the brake. Once you get used to it, going back to a gasoline car feels broken. You lift off and the car just coasts, doing nothing, wasting energy. But here's what's actually happening under the hood. When you lift off, the motor controller ramps up the regenerative torque. In a Tesla Model 3, that torque can pull 60 kilowatts of power back into the battery. 60 kilowatts. That's enough to run 20 average homes. And it's happening every time you slow down. A Porsche Taycan does something even more insane. It can recover up to 265 kilowatts during hard braking. That's the fastest regen system in any production car. The Taycan is literally supercharging itself every time it slows down. Now you might be wondering, if the motor can stop the car, why do EVs still have brake pads at all? Because physics has limits. Regenerative braking works great from highway speeds down to about 5 kilometers per hour. But below that, the motor can't spin fast enough to generate useful braking force. It just fades out. So the car needs something to bring it to a complete stop. And to handle emergency braking, when you need to shed 100 kilometers per hour in 3 seconds. The motor alone can't do that. The battery can't accept that much power that fast. That's why every EV still has traditional hydraulic brakes on all 4 wheels. They're just barely used. Here's where it gets clever again. The system that decides when to use the motor versus the hydraulic brakes is called blended braking. When you press the brake pedal, you're not directly pushing brake fluid anymore. You're sending a signal to a computer. That computer decides. Below 5 kilometers per hour, or if you press hard, it activates the hydraulic brakes. Above that, if the deceleration you're asking for is mild, it uses only the motor. In between, it blends both. You never feel the transition. The most common system doing this is called iBooster, made by Bosch. Tesla uses it. Ford Mach-E uses it. VW ID.4 uses it. It's essentially a brake-by-wire system with a computer sitting between your foot and the wheels. Different manufacturers tune this differently, and it matters. Tesla defaults to strong regen. You lift off, the car pulls hard. Some drivers love it. Some hate it. BMW gives you 4 levels. Adaptive mode uses navigation and traffic data to adjust regen based on the road ahead. Coming up to a red light, regen ramps up automatically. Porsche took a different approach with the Taycan. They tune it to feel almost like a gasoline car by default. Very little regen when you lift off, because Porsche buyers were used to that coasting feel and complained. Hyundai lets you control regen strength with paddles behind the steering wheel. Left paddle increases regen, right paddle decreases it. It's genuinely fun to drive. There's no single correct answer here. It's a UX decision as much as an engineering one. So let's tie this all back together. That Tesla with 300,000 miles and original brake pads isn't a fluke. It's the entire point. Regenerative braking recovers about 60 to 70% of the kinetic energy that a gasoline car would just throw away as heat through the brake discs. Every time you slow down in an EV, you're getting a small percentage of your battery back. Over the life of the car, that adds up to thousands of kilometers of extra range. For free. And the brake pads? They last so long that in many cases, they'll rust from disuse before they ever wear out. That's a real problem, by the way. Manufacturers recommend occasional hard braking just to keep the pads clean and functional. Think about that. Your EV brakes so little that the brake pads suffer from being unused. That's how much of the work the motor is doing. Next week, I'm digging into something that's been bothering me for months. Why BYD batteries survive tests that make Tesla batteries catch fire. Same lithium, very different results. And it comes down to a single design choice most people have never heard of. New videos every Wednesday. Subscribe if you want the full engineering breakdown when it drops.